We're back. It's the Daily. Strive pitching free throws because they offer a Joshua Fisher, Alexander Tossman, Rock Desopoulos, DJ, Nikki Slopes, Kreider, back from Mammoth. How was your trip, dude?
It was okay.
Good.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
It was fun. You know, they've got the most snow than any other resort in the United States right now. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. Love
Yeah.
to see it.
That's all you can really ask for.
Breaking records.
All you can really break. Record-breaking. It was not a record-breaking weekend in football, unfortunately. The games were fine.
Yeah, not
The
really
Jaguars-Chiefs game was maybe the best.
Yeah, but I think the most competitive was probably the Cowboys-Niners.
Yes, agreed. My cousin texted you guys. There was a parlay of touchdowns, Kelsey Goddard, Schultz, and Chase that hit. My cousin was one player off. He had switched Schultz and Lamb.
Should have hedged.
Yeah.
Just take CeeDee. He needed CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah.
Just take CeeDee Lamb, no touchdown for like half the money,
Yeah. That
or like a fourth of the money.
would have been smart. I wasn't even thinking about how you can really hedge that. You could take CeeDee Lamb, no touchdown anytime.
Right.
I guess you could bet the opposite. Yeah, that definitely would have been the move. But one guy did it on DraftKings, $5, but 5 shekels down, won $72K. Looked like a college student too, paid tuition.
I saw a pretty funny text exchange from these guys. This one guy told his friend, I have a feeling that the Bills are just going to smoke the Bengals this week. Like the Bengals haven't played anyone that good. Like Bills are waiting for that A-game moment. I think the score is going to be like 27-10. And then he proceeds to place a bet, an exact score bet on a book, 27-10. But he accidentally did the Bengals 27 and the Bills 10. And he ended up winning.
Oh,
Wow.
my God.
It was like $5 to win like 2,700 or something.
Oh,
my
my
gosh.
God. That's so fortunate.
So
for that.
lucky.
Yeah, for that guy. All right, let's start in the Jaguars-Chiefs. Biggest takeaway from that game from each of you guys.
That Mahomes is a gamer and nothing can stop him.
Okay.
Playing through a high ankle sprain.
I honestly, ton of credit to Chad Henne being able to step in and
Yeah.
lead that offense. I think a lot of credit goes to Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, as they normally get credit, but we should continue to praise them because they're excellent at scheming for their quarterback. If it's Patrick Mahomes, great. If it's not, they can still do it. I do think the Jags team is sneaky competitive. They got better as the season went along. This team is missing Tyreek Hill a lot, and this was the first game. I've watched them in the regular season, and we've said that, but when playoffs come around, it's a different type of football. And Travis Kelce, if whoever ends up playing them, whether it's the Bengals, if the Bengals don't take them out, or if they go on to the Super Bowl, if someone can eliminate Travis Kelce in some capacity, I mean, he had like a career high 14 catches in this game,
But under 100 yards.
they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I don't like Juju. It's not that I don't like MVS or any of the other guys. I think Tony is continuing to get involved in this offense. I just felt like they're a little less variable than they have been when they had him on their team, which makes sense because he's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can scheme all you can to prevent Travis Kelce from getting his, but I'm sure teams do it every week, but he just continues to do it, and that's why he's considered the best tight end in the league. And I think Clay Harbor said it on our show last week that he might go down better than Tony Gonzalez if he plays as long as Tony Gonzalez
Oh,
does.
yeah. I mean, I think the real question ultimately becomes, is he better than Gronk?
Right.
And that's where the real debate
And I think there's an
starts.
argument right now that he is already.
Career
Sure.
longevity.
Like, yeah, 100%. Like, availability is the best ability. Like, you can't, like I preach that all the time. I can't, like, not preach it against a guy that I grew up rooting for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a takeaway for me from that game, obviously, I'm really curious. Do you guys see did you see Trevor Lawrence in the tunnel?
No.
Have you seen that video? So basically, Trevor Lawrence goes first into the tunnel, and then he stays there and he high fives pretty much like 75 to like 80% of the coaches and the players as they head back into the tunnel. Ultimate leader. Ultimate
I mean,
leader.
there's no reason why they shouldn't feel really good about this season and this franchise going
Oh, it's
forward.
a win for sure.
It's
a big win.
I would say we could be sitting here this time next year, and Trevor Lawrence could be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
I think that's a stretch because there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL. That means he's got to surpass Burrow. That means he's got to surpass Mahomes.
No, Burrow's number 2 in the NFL.
Burrow's number 2.
Well,
Top three.
okay, well, I'm just
Sure.
saying he's got to surpass some guys to get there.
I don't think he's that
Yeah,
far
I
off
think
of
at best
Allen.
he's like you're making the argument, but no one is going to be like solidified. He's the top. He's the third best.
When you're
quarterback
saying
in the
top
NFL.
three, I'm thinking 1, 2, or 3. So that's why I threw Burrow, Mahomes in there. So
Sure.
basically, you're saying he could be the number 3 quarterback.
Right.
Yes, I think the real jump he'll have to make to me is Herbert. I don't think Allen's as good as Herbert. I think Herbert's probably my number 4 right now, or 3 right now.
I mean, let's see what happens with this Eagles team and,
Yeah.
and how their
Jalen
season
Hurts
ends.
can kind of, he's up there, obviously, of course. To me, though, Trevor Lawrence, we poo-pooed the Christian Kirk signing. We scoffed at Zay Jones. Evan Ingram, we didn't even give a bat an eyelid
Also,
to.
first year for Doug Peterson too.
And the offense kept
After
getting better
last
and better.
season's train wreck.
Yeah, and Etienne was like barely in the offense the first couple weeks, and all of a sudden now he looks like one of the best running backs in the league. I really like this Jags team. I'm with you. I was not that impressed. I was more impressed with Mahomes, what they did with Henny, but I'm not fully impressed with this Chiefs team. Like I think they're gonna have a really tough time, especially if Mahomes.
They're
is
obviously a
full
very,
healthy.
very good team. It's
Yeah.
it's no like knock against them. I just was something that I kind of paid attention to a little bit in that game as it broke down.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you guys, do you think that this is more, that game was more telling that the Jags are like legit, or that maybe the Chiefs are not fake news, but that they're not as good as everyone expected them to be?
Ladder.
I think the former. I think it's more so the Jags.
No, I don't. I think that the Chiefs have had a tough time against a few opponents. They lost to Cincy already, and we'll pivot to that game.
Look, I'm all in on the Bengals. I think that
They
that
dominated
didn't-
the
yeah.
Bills in Buffalo. They in a snow game in Buffalo.
Joe, just they say Joe cool, and like because he's cool, but also because like he's just so cool. Like he does not give doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like he's out there warming up, to like throwing the ball, like doing a spin, like talking to reporters. Like he's just doesn't care. Like, and
He's
he
been there
cares
a
about the
million-
game, but he like does not care about like, all of the ferocity that this team's gonna bring. It's just he's another beast when he gets out there. I think he's got a different mentality than any other quarterback.
I mean, the thing is with Burrow is he's won on the biggest of stages.
Right.
He's been to the Super Bowl. He has arguably the greatest team, and people won't say it's not even an argument. The greatest college football team of all time, and they go, okay, you have one of the greatest college receivers of all time, and he still has them. And then he has T. Higgins, and then he has Boyd and Hayden Hurst, and then he has Joe Mixon and P. Ryan, and there's like offensive weapons and a good head coach.
The line's
And
got better, too.
The line's fine. The line is fine. Like the offense, everyone's like up in arms with the offensive
It's got
line.
better than last year.
Yeah, exactly. At this
And
point,
it's way more injured. So like it shouldn't even make sense. But
at this point, it's working.
it's working.
Yeah. So the kicker is like the defense is good. Like everyone is, Pac-Man Jones said it. Like everyone's riding Josh Allen's tail, and this offense, and they were nowhere to be found. 10 points is pitiful in a home game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they were. We saw it in Miami. They were the most telling team. Like, hey, that you should have smacked that Miami team if you were for real, and they're clearly not. I mean, that Buffalo Bill team has to go back into the locker room, to the drawing board. They have a lot to work on in the offseason.
I'm really not surprised. I went and placed a bet on BetOnline.ag.
Nice.
Before this game, Bengals to win it all. Pretty good odds, and those odds have definitely plummeted.
I mean, you look at him. He said when he saw a picture of a little kid before he won the Heisman Trophy, he said that looks like a Heisman Trophy winner. Wins the Heisman Trophy. Then they did the same thing. And he said looks like a national champion before he had even played in the game. They asked him how often, like, what do you think your window is to win the Super Bowl? He said, as long as I'm playing.
My whole career,
He
No,
called
he'll
himself.
go.
He called himself Jon Snow. You know how like
King of the North.
into your own self you have to be, but I don't even care because like it's with the utmost confidence in his own ability, and his teammates have given him so much trust. You saw like after the game, Jamar Chase, he quote tweeted that video that you're talking about of when he's warming up and he just like flicks the ball and he does a little spin or whatever, and he's like MVP. Everyone in that locker room believes in him, and if everyone believes in you, it makes it that much easier to believe in yourself.
He'll win MVP when it's all said and done.
He'll win Super Bowls when it's all said and done, and that's like probably the most important thing. The thing is like Rodgers has that air of confidence, and so does he. Yet the way he is revered by his teammates and the way he like kind of also lifts them up at the same time is less of a solo show than for like a Rodgers that we've seen in the past. And going to the next game though, if we can.
Well,
Like,
before we get there really
Yeah.
quickly, do you think that has anything to do with the fact that LSU team really kind of made him the ultimate leader? Like Rodgers came from Cal and they didn't really win anything, and he wasn't revered as like the guy.
I think
mean, it
I
could
think
be-
he
it
just
always
I think
could be
that's
the way
part
you
of it.
brought
I think
up.
he just
Yeah.
I think he just gets it.
Yeah.
Like, I think he gets how to bring every different type of player in the locker room together. I think he gets how he has to talk to the press. I think he gets social media and how like putting on some element of a show is important for people to buy in. And he's from Ohio. He's playing for the Bengals. He's playing for his hometown team.
Yeah.
He's buying into this. I mean, even the little things like Josh Allen's from Northern California. This game is played in the snow. He's the king of the North. Like, he's not going to lose this game. The winter elements, he's built for it. Like, it's all somehow like falling into perfect place for this guy from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah.
And then he goes out there and he's done enough to prepare himself from a skill standpoint to get it done.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I'm nervous about for Burrow, honestly, I really think they're going to beat the Chiefs. I'm very confident in them beating Kansas City, no matter where the game is played. I would say of all the teams that I was most impressed with this weekend, would probably be the Philadelphia Eagles, who absolutely beat the you-know-what out of the New York Football Giants. They crushed them. They crushed them. That
crushed them
over in the first quarter.
They crushed them earlier in the season when they played them as well.
But the Giants went
Twice.
to Minnesota.
We also
Minnesota.
did everyone not kind of look, Daniel Jones, I am always rooting for that guy. I think he's a great competitor, but we have seen him make simple mistakes like he did in that game time and time again, so we should not be surprised by that he regressed to the mean. And so did Dak Prescott in these games. Both the guys who were incredible in the wild card round. I'm not necessarily like super surprised by what happened. And then when you look at the personnel compared, it's from one to the other. It's like TCU playing Georgia. Like,
the Eagles have an amazing roster. I think it's very telling to me seeing them come. They kind of limped into the playoffs.
Yeah, they got a lot of rest though.
They had a lot of rest. I want to see how you come back after that rest. You've had some time off. Hurts has had like one game in between like four, and he was awesome. The defense was amazing, and quite frankly, to me, while I was very impressed with the San Francisco defense, I think that offense is going to have a very, very tough time against Philly. Versus Philly having a tough time against that San Francisco offense.
Well, I mean, I
think the Cowboys defense is better than the Eagles defense.
I don't know, dude. I think it's kind of tight, man, to be honest. I would actually argue that the Eagles have a better defense in their ability to get to the quarterback. I mean, they talk about records. They were a record-setting sack team, were they not?
They were. I think that the Cowboys defense is really, really good. We saw that in that game against the 49ers. We also saw plays not being made that had to be made. That this Eagles defense, Darius Slay, big play Slay, that's what they call him. Yeah. Trayvon Diggs had a pick that bounced right off of his chest. Like, there were plays that this Cowboys defense had to make, and you have to make them. You have to execute at that level in the playoffs to move on round by round. Mm-hmm. And I simply think that the Cowboys, on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, I texted y'all, like, it was amazing that Kevontae Turpin took that one back 60 yards. He should have been in the end zone.
My God.
He got beat by the kicker. Like, simple execution mistakes that this Cowboys team
follow your block
did not make. And that's the reason why they lost this game. I really thought that they lost as much as the 49ers won. Like, Brock did enough not to lose the game.
Yeah, but that kind of game was due for Brock. You know, like a little bit more back to reality. Like, okay.
And again, playing against a great pass rush.
Yeah, of course. And like in the playoffs, you know, one of the biggest stages, you know, the pressure's high. But I think that's a good reality check for him.
He's gonna have to play really, really well against this Eagles team.
Oh yeah, I mean that Cowboys team too. I mean, like y'all,
there's an outside chance that Jimmy G's available in that game. So if Brock is like not getting it done, you know, first half, maybe
Norwegian buyback time. Yeah. The thing with the Cowboys, if you could even just go in the. I know they didn't have much of a chance in the last drive, but it's not like they could have faked him out of the fair catching on the 6, run to the other side. Fair catch it there, trick the defense, let it roll into the end zone. Dalton Schultz, back-to-back boneheaded plays. It's like they were defeated on that last drive. Like, you knew the minute they got the ball.
What a play call in the last play, though, right?
Honestly, I needed that play. As a Cowboys fan watching that game, I audibly laughed at that play, and I needed that to cut the tension in my body.
What do they do from here? Like, how do they get over
McCarthy?
Jerry already came out right at the end of the game and said we can't fire him, and this combination of McCarthy and Dak cannot win a Super Bowl. I think it's evident at this point. We've seen enough.
Do they need another receiver? Like, I don't know what to do.
Certainly, that would be helpful if we had just kept Amari Cooper instead of getting rid of him.
For what, a 6th, a 5th? Like, it was a joke.
I can tell you what they need to do, but they're not going to do it, and that's the issue with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
There's some teams that are just inevitably cursed in the NFL, and I believe that the Cowboys are one of them since the 2000s. I think the Chargers are one of them. I think the Bills are one of them. There's just teams that, like, they get to the stage and they just cannot execute and they cannot get it done. And there's teams that have a lot of luck, that just, when they get there, that they're just going to steamroll.
Buffalo's overrated to me.
They're overrated, but remember the 90s?
Yeah, I actually think,
Same thing.
I think you guys are, of all three of those teams.
Hey, at least Buffalo's been to an AFC championship.
Once Rashawn Slater gets back, I think it's going to be a different story for the Chargers. I'll say that. The Cowboys and the Bills are a bit more set in stone, a bit more further along than the Chargers are in their quest for a Super Bowl. I think a lot of those teams they're going to have to do some shakeups. You have no choice. You lost in the divisional round. Like, you ultimately failed at least to get to the NFC Championship game.
Ultimately, I think Jerry's just a stubborn GM. I mean, he's the owner of the team, but, like, just a stubborn GM, and, like, the shakeups are not going to be super drastic.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they need to be, honestly.
And we might lose both our coordinators, and that might be the only shakeup we can get. But if that guy's still the head coach and Dak's our QB, like, it's not enough.
Right.
I still don't think it's enough.
I'd rather keep Dan Quinn as the head coach and fire McCarthy than lose Dan Quinn altogether.
Preach.
For sure.
Preach. Yeah, that's the hot take of the day. All right, we'll be back next time. Daily Stripe guest, Solomon Wilcox, talking Bengals. Very exciting. We'll see you guys tomorrow.